And we are live with Grit for Life podcast. I am your host, Nate Parks, founder of Grit for Life. If you are not familiar with Grit for Life, it means and stands for getting ready in training for life. And if you haven't checked us out on Facebook, please go and do that. That's where we're mostly based, although we also do live seminars and motivational speaking events for churches, for your companies, for your small groups, whatever it may be, whatever you may want to tap into when it comes to Grit for Life. We are here to motivate the mind, build the body, and searching the soul. Now, today's podcast is a little unique, and what I mean by that is at least 4 times a year on Grit for Life on the Facebook page, we do a 4-week mind, body, and soul free online workshop. With that, each day we focus on the mind part being something motivational. So one of the things that I decided to do, which I have not really done before, we're going to try it out, see how it works out, is the motivational parts. A lot of times I'll do videos or I will post other people's motivational stuff on there, as well as podcast. And this time what I've decided to do is actually add the podcast for our YouTube and our iHeartRadio listeners to listen to, because I think you can get something out of them. You may not be doing the full workshop, which includes a daily workout program with using your own body weight and some journaling, a lot of other different things such as special recipes, stuff like that. You may not be doing that, but it doesn't mean you can't get something out of the subject. And when I say subject, every workshop is focused around a specific theme. And this 4 weeks just got started today, and this theme of this workshop is your time. Time is something valuable. It's actually something kind of funny if you think about it, because time itself, if you really think past the surface of it, which a lot of times I do, being an author, I actually take a look at things and try to see them from a different perspective, and time is one of those. Time itself, if you look past the surface, is really man-made. You say, what do you mean by that, Nate? Well, time is the name or label, because we as humans love labels, we love names, we love definition, we want to understand something, so we put a label or a definition to it in order to be able to feel as if we understand it. And the time is that label that we've given to the rise and the setting of the sun, to birth, to death, and to just the existence of what is living. It is defined merely by the words and mindset of each human being. You say, well, what do you mean by that? Well, have you ever used the term, man, today's moving so fast? Or, man, I wish today'd hurry up. This day is just dragging. Well, is it really? If you think about it, that really isn't truthful. Because time, in the essence and label of what we know it, is 24 hours a day. It doesn't change. Each day we don't gain hours within the day. We don't gain hours in our life in reality. We have a certain amount of time, and time remains the same. Even though it may seem like it's moving fast, we still are going 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. Our perception is what defines the movement of time. Our perception of the day. It might be that you have something great going on and you don't want it to stop, but it seems like it's going so fast. Or maybe you're going through some rough times in your life. Maybe you're dealing with a divorce or a loss of a job. Maybe you're dealing with what you would consider a failure or a mistake. And time just seems to be dragging because everything is weighing so heavy on you. Our perception is what gives us the feeling that it is moving faster than other days or slower than other days, out of our normal routine. And the funny thing about it is perception and feeling as if things are going faster or slower than what they really are is an emotion. We define the underwhelming or overwhelming or even status quo of our existence by the word feeling and emotion. From the moment that we enter into this world, we begin to be defined by time, which in essence, time, if allowed, defines ourselves. Now, we can become controlled by our feelings many times and our emotions, which again, we allow these to define ourselves. These moments, we're defined. The statement says we're defined by moments in our life. And in reality, we are. You think back of a great time that you had as a kid, or maybe a bad time. That moment defines you. That moment in time. What makes me happy may not make you happy. What makes my day go fast may not make your day go fast. True, there are deeper biological elements within the human mind that plays in all of this. But again, from birth, I never tell you that there is such thing as time. And I never tell you how time works. And at the same time, I never define time for you. Then what would your mind tell you it is? What would the definition be? You see, we live with definition. We seek out explanation. And in doing so, we seek out answers to what it is we don't understand. And so I can imagine throughout the man's history, they began to see a pattern in nature. They began to see a pattern in days. And then they began to set their life to that pattern to be the easiest it can be. And yet, today, we're doing the same thing. Most humans, you might be guilty of this, will choose to live out the easiest path. Thus, they're choosing to live out the easiest time. The thing is that we many times get stuck inside these perpetuation of someone else's answers, someone else's definition of our life, someone else's definition of success, and we fail to stop and take a moment and really ask ourselves, how are we affected by this? What's our definition? Because if not, then we just accept someone else's answer. We accept someone else's element of time saying, well, I'm too old because society tells me I'm too old to accomplish this, or I'm too young, or I just don't have enough time. Then when we begin to play over these excuses, because that's in essence really what they are, they're an excuse of time, we become imprisoned by those answers, by those definitions. And then we regurgitate them. We regurgitate them to our children. We regurgitate them to our family. We regurgitate them, more importantly, to ourselves. We pass the answer of time and definition of time on to those around us and to ourselves. But what if I told you that time doesn't exist? You'd probably look at me crazy. You'd probably think I lost my rocker and might even wonder if you have turned over to the comedy show or some conspiracy channel. But you haven't. If I told you, though, that time doesn't exist, would you believe me? Why wouldn't you? Mostly because probably everybody around you since the time of birth has told you that time does exist and time does move. But somewhere along the lines, we stopped using time to our advantage and allowed it to become a disadvantage and allowed it to become an excuse. But if I told you that if you freed yourself of the answers and the definitions that you have allowed to define you, then that time would become finite and infinite all at once. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean finite because we know that there comes a point in our life that we all pass away. However you may feel that may be, whether it's reincarnation or you go to a heaven or a hell, or maybe you just go to the dust, I don't know, but we all understand that. The time for all of us will come to what we would call an end. But when we face obstacles that seem unconquerable, many times we feel that time stands still. But the truth is it doesn't. We really do know that if we stop and self-reflect. When we find ourselves elated and our heartbeat racing due to a euphoria, we say, man, I just wish time would stop. But we also understand time doesn't stop. There's another saying that says, time stops for no man. But all of this is based on an emotional response. If I have excitement and time seems to go fast, it really is my emotion that I'm not controlling that makes it feel as if it's going fast. Because if I'm having a great time, in reality, let's say take an hour. And that is the best hour of my life. But it seems to go by fast, but in reality, it's still 60 minutes. Or maybe I'm having the worst time of my life and time's going slow, but it's still 60 minutes. What defines the passage of time in that element? Our emotion, our feeling, our control or lack of control. Us choosing not to live in the moment. Us choosing not to make time be our time. This is based upon a belief that we are not in control. And many times it's because we're not. We allow our emotions and feelings to take over, no matter if they're good, no matter if they're bad. Because you can have great emotions and still lose control. That's when time feels like it's going by so super fast because you're just kind of existing. You're not living with a purpose. You're not keeping precious time. Or we're no longer in control and just allow the sea and the rush of the waves of the experience to take over and come crashing in on us. Now, what if I told you that we could tap into a limitless mindset? And if you could do that, you would discover time is controlled by you. No, I'm not saying something like in the essence of a superhero, like Dr. Strange. No, you can't truly manipulate time, but if you can learn to value time and live purposefully and live for a purpose each moment of the day, and sometimes relax and just let time go by, but you chose that, then your actions are controlled by you. Your success and failures in each of those moments are controlled by you. You see, when we take back the power of focus and perspective, the picture of time within our world, it changes. And in that change, we gain control instead of letting time control, instead of letting the world and society move us through fast or slow, but in the same minutes. We then can start laying out the building blocks to alter the very path of our life. If I told you it would be the hardest thing you ever did, would you do it? Many would probably not. Many would like to think they would. Many might even try, and as soon as it gets hard, they just fall right back into the status quo of time, allowing time as if they're laying on one of those floating mats in a swimming pool. And time are the waves, just lifting them up and putting them back down for no apparent reason, no success, no goals. They just want to go back. Because to actually start using time to your advantage, taking control of your time, living purposefully, scheduling things out is not easy, especially if you're not used to it. But would you do it? Or would you choose to maintain the buoyant floating of existence that has dashed you against the rocky shores of reality over and over and over? See, time is a part of our world because we've labeled it. We've measured it. We've placed ourselves within its constraints. But this can be empowering. But only once we learn to live outside of it. And then once again, inside of it. If you can understand that you are powerful, you are limitless, you are in control of your own beliefs, your success and your failures, then time becomes an asset to you, not a detriment. If you're able to tap into this mindset, my friend, listeners, then and only then can you place yourself no longer in the closed box of time, but in the open expansion of time. The horizon becomes limitless. When you are able to do this, then time becomes something that you can control and no longer be controlled by it. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The best way I could explain it would be like Neo, waking up from the Matrix. You will become unstoppable.